So, hi everyone. It's very nice to be here, and we are going to present together with Gabriel in 30 minutes. I think interesting topic, and we start with a bit of intro. We work for Kenvue. We basically, it's a company. Previously was Johnson & Johnson, and now it's a standalone company. We taking care of the commodity risk management and multiple other things. Our team is a sort of a Swiss knife inside of the Kenvue, but the main thing is really the commodity risk management. We're taking care of all the direct materials, chemicals, packaging, logistics as well, which is ocean freight, ground freight, warehouse. So we have quite a big scope. And the landscape that we are working in is very complex because we have multiple ERPs, outdated ERPs, the data is scattered, and we also purchase a lot of external data, right? And this is all needs to come to place in one place. On top, we have a lot of unstructured data. This is the contracts that was discussed one day, 60 pages. Yes, we have those too, and we have a lot of them. And there is a lot of good information inside. So we basically working with all types of the information. Now, I think to some extent we have a digital twin, which was already discussed here, because we start with the commodity. We know what our components are made of, what commodities are driving the price. We go to the supplier level. We know what is our supplier made of, sort of, right? What is location, what is energy, what is labor exposure. And we end up with a brand, right? Where we do, and we're able to translate the level, let's say the whole impact to the brand level, right? So we know that if oil price goes up $10 tomorrow, what's going to happen with our logistics costs, what's going to happen with our packaging materials, what's going to happen with our chemical materials. And names, so my name is Vazgen, and this is Gabriel. By the way, I have the same issue as a helmet with my name. My US colleagues call me vegan, and my German colleagues make me Wagen, right? So this is, I have the same issue quite often. But Gabriel, please introduce yourself.
So pretty much what we are going to demonstrate today is, like we state that, it's not like a presentation about resilience, it's more a demonstration. But I'm going to go like even further. Like what we are going to see here is like more the front end of what we call like an overall transformation from a value creation architecture that we are building there within the company, which is pretty much anchored on four main pillars there. One, it's like how will you build like an enterprise operating model and a governance transformation where you can enable like small, high caliber teams to outperform like legacy project streams and empower them to elevate the level of impact that they use it to provide or deliver within their own function into an enterprise level, right? Second point is like how we ensure that we are delivering like structured financial gains here to the company, no? So you can name it there. If we are talking about like cost avoidance, cost savings, margin expansion, this is all of the areas that we are tackling now to put like figures in place. For example, usually we say that when you start a project, you should start small and scaling. In our case, driven by different situations, we actually did exactly the opposite. We started like very big, based on what Helmut was like showing today. It was a complicated, complex, chaotic situation where it was pretty much when we were dealing with like the skyrocketing prices from commodities during COVID disruption, right? So 5 years later, when we look what we have been achieving within the operational model that we built there and the framework that it was in place, just to put numbers in mind there, between cost avoidance, savings, and margin expansion, which we also work together with the commercial organization, we delivered more than $500 million there. Let me repeat, it's not $500,000, it's $500 million. No? So this gives you a little bit more of flavor of what is the importance of the topic to have like a proper, I would say, risk management and a architecture for value creation in place there. Third part there is like the decision intelligence, analytics, and the digital enablement. There is a lot of hype about AI, tools, solutions, but from our perspective, the really game changer there is the human element. It's the high caliber team members that you have. If you don't have, it's better, hire one, no? But they are the game changers, no? Like people used to say, yeah, AI can be like a magical one. Yes, if you are a magician, yes, but if you're not, it doesn't help. In the end of the day, it's a catalyzer. It helps those that can already deliver to outperform the level of deliverable. And the last point there is like how you build cross-function alignment and influence, no? So how you can provide within a single platform, within a single forum, the different types of views, how you slash and dice the information that different decision makers need to have in place to move forward, and how you influence them, no? So I would say that nowadays the influence doesn't come anymore like from which on the pay grade level you are, which on the hierarchy in the company you are. It's more about like how you can influence the senior manager, how you can influence the C-level, the board level there, how you can provide a visualization of, let's say, real life based examples of what are going to be the impact of each of the decisions, of not taking the decisions, of whatever is the different type of view or angle that we want to be tackling. So pretty much that's what we want to demonstrate here.
Yeah, and just to add on top, right, we are not going to show you some specific solution. There will be a small demo, of course, right, to make things a bit easier to digest, right? But the key thing is really just to underline everything what Gabriel said. We want to show you today a framework approach, a new approach, we call it, at least for our companies, a new, which is sustainable, which means the day we're gone, the thing will survive, the system will survive. And I will quickly guide you through the agenda, and then we go into the topic. So basically, high level, we will state the problem, we share with you how we solve it till today, and I think in many cases we share the approach, and then what is this new approach exactly is. Then there will be a bit of a demo. It's a quick one, don't worry, it's not going to be 1 hour, it's really 5 minutes, and then we will basically recap and wrap up the things, talking a bit about the scalability, if we can use this in other locations, yes or not, and then let's say the final so what and the recommendation that we have here. Of course, the questions and discussions, please feel free to interrupt us anytime. Whenever you have any question, raise your hand. We're happy to answer. We on purpose have not that many slides, right? So we really want this to be a bit more like a discussion because we are testing what we are doing now. It works well in our company, but we want to hear also the feedback. And I pass back to Gabriel.
So pretty much, what's the actual situation that we see there? No. Most of times you listen from like different functions and people like, we don't have this data. No, we don't have this. It's not possible. We cannot get it. And I can tell you that 99% of the time they are like lying to you. The data is there. No, it's just fragmented. It's just not easy to extract. It's just not easy to consolidate, but it's there. That's the fact. No. And what happens when you need to compile large data sets to translate this into business insights when there is volatility, when there is a crisis coming up? This slow combination destroys the value. No? So pretty much when you are able to consolidate this fast, to provide the specific type of view that needs to be there in place for a proper decision making, and of course we know you are not going to always have the data, but sometimes 10% is better than nothing, no? You can reduce your buffers, you can avoid overhedging, you can prevent late escalations, and you can like shrink the value leakage at source, no? So the idea is like really like how you can build more like fast acting decision-making process, how you compress the cycle and build up the resilience that can make you simulate, decide, and move faster than how the disruption spreads. No? So on these slides, what is the traditional approach? No, IT as it is, and the Excel heroes. No, and you see, the slide is this. Doesn't have nothing there because I think that I don't need to be talking here what it's the traditional approach. We all know here what it is. No? When a crisis comes up, people start like freaking out, running left and right, up and down. Okay, we need to like bring this guy to the table. let's discuss, endless hours there. And usually is what? Okay, can we extract this from our SAP? Yes, we can, but like we need to combine this with other view. SAP can do that? No, it's usually like that type of joke. SAP is like an excellent ERP, no? But it's like when they say, what we are going to do with like the hunger in the world, no? Don't worry, SAP for HANA will solve it. No, it will not solve it, no? There are still a lot of things that needs to be combined and adjusted. And usually this is where like what we call the Excel heroes were like coming in place, no? Which is usually those guys that have like a domain expert there on their area of field, on their functions, know all the short keys there, no? And start smashing the keyboard to like in few hours deliver something, no? It's like, for example, the situation where we have when a tweet come here and there and you say, okay, like what's going to be the impact? Like, should we stop like shipping goods from here to there? We need to move things from which warehouse to which country? What will going to be the impact? And yeah, we faced this. Well, I would say that we still face this, but now we treat it on a different way. It's not like smashing the keyboard, no? So the new operating model there, what we call there, the supercharged small themes and the tools, no? So pretty much what we have here in place is, again, we enable like high caliber team members there with modern tools to deliver outstanding results. So it's like how you can make those guys that already deliver value to exponentially increase the value that they are delivering, no? And again, this is like where we see that it's the sweet spot, the intersection there, no? How you use the domain expert, the technical fluency, they need to know what they are talking about, and AI to leverage their potential. And that's it. Let me pass to Vazgen. I said right the name, right?
Yes, this time, yes. Okay, and here where we just expand a bit more on what Gabriel was saying is, and we have here like a schematic view. It's basically we have different types of like you have unstructured data, you have structured data, you have external feeds, it all comes to the inputs, and then we do the data processing. This is the first thing where we do it in a systematic way. We stop using Excel to do any data transformations, and we don't go too much, let's say, into things like building this in ERP. This is one of the, I would say, traps. If you try to put things into ERP, most probably you will face huge cost, very big delays, and it's rigid. Like if you want to change something tomorrow, most probably you would not succeed. So we're using Alteryx and Nime. We were using them both in parallel, and now we are using Nime mainly because it's cheaper, it's good, and it's actually very, very wonderful tool to do the big data transformations and things. Another beauty of it, whatever you do there, it's sustainable because it's not an Excel file that someone has on the desktop hidden there, right? It's really a flow which lives in the cloud, and everyone in the team has a very good documentation and access to it and how exactly it works. So even if tomorrow we stop doing, at least the process can continue as is today. And then the data storage was another one and was appearing in the previous slide. We started to use Azure a lot for Microsoft because this is one-stop shop, and this is really provides and solves the issue with the data. If you think in general, you're always solving three issues, right? You have where to store data, how to work with the data, how to transform the data, and then how you present this information. Quite often we use Excel for all of this, right? And this approach, we move the data storage to the SQL, to Azure. This is uncomparable. It can handle 100 million of rows, and this is what we have in the end of the day once we combine the data size, and the cost is really small. And then for the data processing, to really transform the data to the shape and form and being flexible, this is also important, we use Nime. And in the end of the day, we also started to use AI tools. And this one, as Gabriel said, it's a magic wand, but in the proper hands, right? In the proper application. We use it for multiple things, something basic like OCR, which is basically we translate never-ending PDFs files, contracts, and things like this into the digital form, which allows us to do a lot of deep dive and research. But the most epic thing, I would say, in the last literally few months, is the anti-gravity. Just Google for it because it's a Google product. It allows you to actually code things without being any expert at all. And this allows you to really create things faster, and it's also completely removes the barrier between your idea and the final implementation. The thesis that we have here is that you cannot use it for everything. Of course, for some things, you still need to go in a bit more traditional, let's say, development. But the other side of this, you cannot treat each project as an ERP project. There should be, for sure, a lot of flexibility for something that you do just for yourself, just for your team, just for these 100 people, or maybe just for tomorrow for your CPO. Like, it cannot be an IT project, everything. And then the final product, of course, we present to multiple ways. Excel, which is, I think, one of the best tools for exactly this, to do analytics and write the data, to read the data, but it's terrible to store the data and to process the data. So this is how we decouple these two things. And usually when you hear that someone hates Excel, it's just because they were using it for the wrong thing, right? Now, we're going to switch to the quick demo. This is basically a tariff simulation tool. It's super simplified. It's not a real data. I had to completely fake the information, and I had to also reduce the granularity. The real granularity that we have is, of course, SKU level. It goes down to each supplier, SKU, thousands and thousands of combinations. So what it is, what this thing in the end of this, right? This is a web app, and this is a demonstration of what you can build using the approach that I was showing you before. So you have the data, you clean it, you really make a nice, very good mapped information. This is still quite manual and laborious process. But once you finish this, you need to present this somehow to your leadership, and also to make it useful to different type of personas, right? Because you will have a different ask from commercial team, you will have a different ask from your CPO, you will have a different ask from your finance team. 3 features that this thing has, right? The first one is that you do, for example, what is your tariff, right? Tariff is exposure multiplied by rate. Very simple formula, just 2 variables. So here, for example, we have some simplified view, just country and product type, right? And then we have a tariff rate. We can do a quick simulation and we say, okay, what is the tomorrow? There is another tweet, another truth coming, and this is 100% everyone, right? We can create a new scenario. Let's call it tariff 1, whatever it is. We save the tariff rate scenario. We continue, we go and say, okay, what's happened with the exposure? Let's say we stop buying things from China, like nothing. We stopped from July, we don't buy anything in China. So it's basically the way that you can quickly simulate and provide inputs to the tool, to already pre-designed tool. And this one, for example, just this already replaces a lot of things and covers a lot of asks, right? I think you can see how many ways you can use it. It basically replaces things like Anapan, which is a very expensive thing. This costs nothing. And then you also create a scenario. Let's say it's spent. Then we go to the scenario builder. We already have some scenarios here, but you want to create a new scenario and say, okay, this will be a new scenario X, and I want to use rates that we just added, tariff 1, and I want to use, for example, the latest spend that I just did as well. You can put description, things like this, but the key thing is that you switch to the comparison of scenarios, and here you can really see what you just did in a very simplified way. The interesting thing that most of your customers, in the end of the day, I know your stakeholders, want just this thing on the top. They need number, they need worst case, best case, and that's it. So all this work that you did, it ends like this. And of course, they appreciate to see the range like here, and ability to check additional scenario that they just did. So now this X scenario is a new worst case scenario starting from February 26. That's the basics. And then additionally, of course, you can do all these beautiful things like you map things, you show to your leadership what exposure you have, right? You use all the Sankey charts, and you can make it as dynamic as you want. You can say, okay, what's happening with my China? You see what's happening with a particular country. You do the waterfall analysis. Brand impact is an important one. This was actually the thing that made this thing work. We are able to translate whatever impact we have to a specific brand. So if I would select fake one, we don't have this one, Clean Max, not yet at least, and it's basically showing you what is the impact, what is the GP impact. And this goes to the example what was presented yesterday from ZF, is that I think on the roundtable, it might be a small spend thing, but your revenue impact, your GP impact will be really huge, right? So you need to have this visibility. It needs to be really like complete. Now, this is not really about this tool itself, right? But we just wanted to demonstrate that we were able to build this in days, and it already looks not bad, right? It's maybe not the A grade thing, but for sure it's a good B grade thing, which is more than enough for your internal application. And of course, we have things like mitigation matrix, right? So this is the place where you can say, okay, this is how much it costs me to do some action, for example, move to different location to do some mitigation, and then how much time it will take you. And also we see the gross to net. It means, okay, you saved 12 million, but if you take into account all the costs that you have, it will be in the end of the day just 10 million. You can filter it if what is planned, what is already in progress, and what was already completed. You can see yourself, amount of practical applications is unlimited. But back to the main and the core message, it's just a small app that we built in no time, using and leveraging the framework, which you can reuse, and you can basically scale relatively quickly up. And this is what will be in the next slide. So what you see in front of you, the presentation itself also was done in 30 minutes. Of course, that took us a few hours, to be honest, to fine-tune it, but conceptually it was there. The time is really slashed down for this particular use case. Like, you need to build something which allows end users to simulate. This was one of the key topics during this discussion here. We want to simulate things, to stress test things. How we would do it without going crazy. This is the answer. And also, in terms of the traditional approach, one thing that this thing is really eliminating significantly is if you go to your IT department, most probably you would end up speaking with a business analyst, with a project manager, then there will be a user interface designer, and then there will be some data scientist. Yes. In most of the cases, you don't need this, like, unless you're really building something super for long term. Prototype, fail fast, this is also the tool. And the last argument here is that even if you go to the IT people, by building this, it's a perfect brief. You come to them and say, I need it like this, I need a calculation like this, can you do it now? And they do. Now, of course, let's see how much time we still have. There is a lot of practical applications, and we're happy to disclose more on the roundtable, but we are now using it for the sustainability. We're completely changing the way we do price forecasting using this approach as well. A lot of modeling, and also I would say we get rid of all the trackers in the end of the day, right? We saw how it's easy to input the data, and it allows you to basically give a very good product to your team, which reduces amount of middlemen, I would say, right? And this is by just doing this, you're already optimizing the process, because there is less space for confusion and misinterpretation of the information. And key takeaway.
So key takeaways that we have. So first of all, like I said, I think that the human element there is it's the critical one. It's the real true enabler. The tools, the process, how you fix the things, this is going to be the catalyzer. But if you don't have the right people, well, sorry, things are not going to work. Second point, like I said, give the tools, let them experiment. We usually, like, when you have like someone that it's a high performer there in their team, usually what drives them, what keeps them motivated, it's not when you go there and say, nice work. No, it's when you give a challenge to them and say, hey, dude, like, you know what? We have this problem. Can you fix this to us? Yes or not? No? So let them experiment, give the right room for this. Again, like, start small, not like we did. Well, it was not our choice, but start small, do a proof of concept, test the waters there, see how things goes. And pretty much, again, I think that what it's the beauty of this, it's about the digital enablement. It's like how you can build something that scalable, repeatable, sustainable. So what does this mean? We know that, like, we are all resources there in the company, and tomorrow we may just decide to go to another company. And usually, like, this is like a point of failure, a risk when you need to be relying on people. So, like, the beauty of this is that if tomorrow, within the framework that it was created, if myself or Vazgen, we decided, you know what, I want to go to BMW tomorrow. Say, I'm tired of consumer business. I want to go to the automobilistic industry. What it was built there, it will remain there. Like that ugly parking lot that people use it to put a lot of things there, it's already like a beautiful garden. So the status quo changed. Like, it fundamentally different the landscape that we are living. The legacy will going to be there. Of course, if there are going to be optimizations, no? If you're going to put your barbecue station, your infinite bordered heated pool, because with this weather, no, needs to be heated, then it's going to depend if you're going to be able to put other high caliber team members there to develop this. But the core of the things, what has been developed, the capability, it will be a legacy. It will going to be in place. So it's about more of like, again, how you drive a transformation to create value creation architecture within your organization. From an enterprise perspective, how do you elevate high caliber members that delivers a lot of value from a function standpoint to an enterprise standpoint?
Yes, and I just want to add a few additional things, and we move into the Q&A session. We want just to give few final messages, and then if there's answers we can answer, or we move directly to the roundtable. If you summarize everything that we said, it sounds like each company needs to become a beta software company, because now you have means to be, and you can be competitive by doing this. In the past, it wasn't making any sense. And when I was saying in the past, even 1 year ago, probably it wasn't making sense. Today, it starts to make sense. And the difference is literally in months. Like 3 months ago, this Google Anti-Gravity was published, and that was the final thing that completely changed my mind. We started 1 year ago experimenting with something simple. We are opening the Copilot, and we are asking this to write a SQL query for us. And it was able to do it on a good quality level. And then during the year, during 2025, because we were exposed to insane amount of data, and we had to survive somehow, we learned how to use the AI. It's not answering on all questions 100%. It hallucinates, it has a lot of issues. But if you treat this thing properly and use it where it's really strong, which is coding, and this is, by the way, what you see in the news now, it's very difficult to be now a junior or even senior developer for a reason. It's really able to write things at the same level as a very experienced human being. And then this is only up to you, up to us, how you use this opportunity, how you basically use this to completely cover everything that you ever wanted to cover, right? So now the only limit, the only bottleneck is the fantasy and the ideas and the creativity that you have. The tools are there, and we wanted to share this experience. It doesn't mean that it should apply to everyone, but I think it works for sure, at least in a certain field of small mid-tier projects, and can deliver a lot from this point of view. Thank you very much for your attention.